All right, let's jump right in. Today, we are tackling those first few months with a new baby. You know, that beautiful, kind of chaotic, and totally life-changing time. And to do that, we're going to lean on some incredible expertise from the Federation of Associations of Midwives of Spain. Think of this as your user's guide for this wild new adventure. So, let's get to it. Look, if you're feeling a little, or maybe a lot, overwhelmed, you are in very, very good company. Bringing a baby home is this crazy mix of pure joy and, let's be real, a ton of anxiety. You're constantly asking yourself, am I doing this right? Is this even normal? Well, the answer is yes and yes. Our goal here is to cut right through all that noise and give you some clear, reassuring info you can actually use.
Okay, so first things first. Before we dive into all the details like feeding schedules and sleep, or, lack of sleep, we've got to talk about the absolute most important thing. Your superpower, really. And that's building that powerful, loving connection with your baby. Seriously, it's the foundation for everything else.
So the guide talks about this really powerful idea called a PIGO, which basically means the affective bond. And no, this isn't just about warm, fuzzy cuddles, though those are great too. It's actually a biological need. This connection is what gives your baby that deep down feeling of security they need to, well, thrive. It's the thing that shapes their physical and emotional growth for years. It's literally how they learn, okay, I'm safe, I'm good.
So the big question is, how do you build that bond? Well, one of the most powerful and simple ways is skin-to-skin contact, and the science on this is absolutely clear. This one simple thing does so much. It's not just about comfort. It actually helps with breastfeeding, lowers infection risk, boosts cognitive development, chills your baby out, and even helps them sleep longer. It just goes to show how sometimes the most natural, intuitive things are also the most powerful. And that physical connection, that closeness, leads us right into our next big topic, feeding. For a lot of new parents, this is maybe the #1 source of stress, but it doesn't have to be. We're going to demystify it right now. All right, so when it comes to feeding, you're looking at two main options, breastfeeding and formula. Now, breastfeeding is often called the most natural route, and it's generally recommended for the first 6 months because it's so perfectly adapted to your baby. But, and this is a big but, when breastfeeding isn't an option for whatever reason, formula is an amazing alternative. It's specially designed to give your baby all the nutrients they need. The most important thing here, the goal is a well-fed baby. That's it. Both are valid, healthy ways to make that happen.
And if you are breastfeeding, your body does something pretty incredible. It doesn't just make one kind of milk. It actually changes over time to give your baby exactly what they need when they need it. First up is colostrum. It's this thick, yellowish stuff that's nicknamed liquid gold for a reason. It's loaded with antibodies, basically acting as your baby's very first immunization. After a few days, that becomes transitional milk. And then finally, you get to mature milk, which is the perfect food to carry them through the first 6 months.
So you finally feel like you've mastered the whole milk situation, right? Well, get ready because a brand new food adventure is about to begin. Around the 6-month mark, it's time to start introducing other foods. This is such a huge milestone, and it's really the start of their whole relationship with eating. Okay, to make this transition to solids a little easier, the guide has some great, simple tips. First, introduce new foods one at a time, and wait a few days in between. That way you can spot any potential issues. Also, you don't need to add any sugar or salt to their food. Their little taste buds don't need it. And maybe the biggest one of all, let your baby lead the way. Let them explore textures and tastes. And never, ever force them to eat or finish what's on their plate. This should be fun, not a fight. All right, so you've got the bonding thing going, you're figuring out the feeding. What's next? Well, now it's time to learn your baby's language. We're going to decode all those little messages they're sending you, from what's in their diaper to, why on earth they won't sleep. The age-old question, usually asked at 3 in the morning while you're staring into a dirty diaper. What is a normal diaper anyway? Believe it or not, what's going on in there is a really good clue about how your baby's digestion is working. And what's normal really just depends on how they're eating. For a breastfed baby, you're generally going to see something yellowish, kind of seedy, and more liquidy. For a formula-fed baby, it's usually a bit darker, more brownish and thicker, kind of like paste. Just knowing that simple difference can save you a whole lot of "is this okay?" anxiety. And now, sleep. Or maybe the lack thereof. So newborns actually sleep a ton. We're talking 15 to 20 hours a day. But, and this is the kicker, they do it in short bursts, waking up every few hours to eat. In the beginning, they have zero idea what the difference is between day and night. So your job is to gently teach them. The key things to remember: always, always place them on their back to sleep. Keep the crib totally clear, no pillows, no bumpers, no soft toys, and try to create a simple, consistent bedtime routine. That'll be your best friend. So why won't they stop crying? That sound can be so incredibly stressful. But here's a little mindset shift that can change everything. What if you stop thinking of crying as a problem and start thinking of it as communication? It's their first language. It's the only tool they have to tell you what they need before they can use words. So instead of panicking when the crying starts, you just become a detective. Go through a mental checklist. Are they hungry or thirsty? Let's check the diaper. Are they too hot or too cold? Maybe a piece of clothing is bugging them. Sometimes they're just exhausted or totally overstimulated from the day. And sometimes they just need a cuddle. They just want you. When you think of it like that, you're not just a stressed out parent. You're a problem solver. Okay, let's get into growth, food, and health. It's totally natural to worry about whether your baby is growing enough and hitting all the right marks. So this part is all about understanding what that progress looks like, and more importantly, knowing when you might actually need to worry. So you might see this number, and your heart might skip a beat. 10%. That's because it's totally normal for newborns to lose up to 10% of their birth weight in the first few days of life. It's not a bad sign. It's just them adjusting to the outside world, and they almost always gain it right back by about day 10. And that leads us to the infamous growth charts. These things can cause so much stress, but they really shouldn't. The best way to think about them is as a general path, not some strict rule you have to follow. Every single baby has their own unique growth curve. What really matters isn't hitting one specific number on one specific day, but the overall trend. Are they growing steadily over time? That's the real question. But while it's important not to obsess over every little thing, it's absolutely critical to know the real warning signs. This right here is your call a professional right now checklist. These are clear, specific signs that something might be seriously wrong. Things like a bluish color, real trouble breathing, or repeated vomiting. Take a second and really look at this list. Knowing these signs doesn't make you a worrier. It makes you prepared and empowered to act fast if you ever have to. So we've gone through bonding, feeding, deciphering their needs, tracking their growth. But all this advice, it's all pointing towards one single crucial idea. And this is really the heart of it all. Just read this quote for a second. A child's general appearance is often the best indicator of their health. After all the data, all the charts, all the expert advice, the guide brings it back to this simple, profound truth. You will learn to read your baby, their energy, their skin tone, the specific sound of their cry, better than any book or chart ever could. That's your parental instinct, and you need to trust it. Because in the end, all the guides, all the advice from friends, all the articles you read online, they're just tools. Your real job, your most important job, is this. You are learning to become the world's leading expert on one subject, and that subject is your baby. Nobody else will ever know them like you do. And so we'll leave you with this final thought. While you're on this incredible journey of learning everything there is to know about your baby, you might just be surprised by who else you discover along the way. What is this tiny person going to teach you about yourself, about love, about a strength you never even knew you had? Thanks for watching.